Today I'm going to talk about integrity. It's not going to be preachy. We're not in a religious facility here, but I think it's important. We're never taught that in medical or dental school, to practice with integrity. And integrity is important. It establishes trust with our patients, and trust is extremely important. Practicing with integrity is doing what's right when nobody is watching. Now, we as doctors, as healthcare providers, we have a leg up, we have an advantage over our patients. We know so much more than they do about what we are doing. It's almost it is like we do speak in a different language. We speak in a language that they don't understand. None of our patients know what the mesial buccal cusp is, okay? None of them know what Stenson's duct is. They don't know what the uvula is. They don't understand the things that we understand. They don't understand biology or microbiology or pathology or occlusion. What they understand is, are we nice to them? Are we hurting them? Do they look good? Some very simple things. Do they function okay? If you practice with integrity, I believe that you will be able to develop a niche practice. I'm not saying that everybody else is unethical, but I am saying that not everybody tells patients everything they need to know so that they can make the best decision. Now, in our practice, we have 5 core values. And what core values are is they set the tone for a lot of things. They set the tone for who we hire. They set the tone for who we work with. They set the tone for who we're being. And in our practice, if we ever have a disconnect, if there's ever any stress, if anything in our practice is not going well, it's usually related to one of our core values. Today, we're going to be talking about integrity. It's the first of our 5 core values. The other ones are being a good teammate, being servant-hearted to our patients, being healthy yourself and teaching health to our patients, and education, keeping ourselves up to date educationally, and more importantly, educating our patients as to what their options are. So today we're going to talk about integrity. We don't take any shortcuts when we do patients. We tell patients everything that they need to know so that they understand their situation. We give them a comprehensive diagnosis after our examination. We give them treatment options so they know what all their options are. We don't upsell them. We don't charge them more after. We give them a case fee. And then if things don't go as well as we'd like, or if we have to do other things, we don't change our case fee. Oftentimes when you go to see a lawyer, what do you give them? You sign a contract, they tell you how much they're going to charge an hour, $500 an hour, and here's a retainer for $10,000. And they work off the retainer. And then when they're done with the retainer, they ask for more money if they're still working. We don't do that. We don't take a retainer. We give them a case fee. Why? Because I sort of know what everything's going to cost. I know what my overhead is. I know how much time is there. I know what kind of products I'm going to be using. However, sometimes it doesn't go the way I think. And it's more time. Sometimes it's less time. But sometimes it's more time. Now, what if it is more time? What if something fails? What if I have to do a bone graft and anticipate doing a bone graft? What if I have to make 2 or 3 more visits? What if they're not happy with the final result? What do? I don't charge them anymore. I just take care of it because that's my responsibility. That's part of the integrity piece. Because I find out by practicing with integrity, by not charging them anymore, by not telling them there's an additional fee, then they trust me more. They don't even think about it. They pay me in advance. We do the work. They don't think about the money anymore. It's a really nice relationship. I once was in an office of someone I was consulting with, and it was a very successful periodontist. He had just charged the patient something like $9,000 or $10,000 for a procedure. And when they went up to the front desk, they go, oh, the dentist used a membrane. And it's another $500. I'm thinking he just charged the patient $500, $10,000. Now they're just charging him $500. Patient left with a bad taste in their mouth. Because you imagine going to a nice restaurant. There's hamburgers on this is sort of funny. Hamburger has become a luxury item in America. So when you get a hamburger in a nice restaurant, it's like $15 to $20 for a hamburger. Okay, McDonald's, I don't think it's that much. If they come up with a hamburger and it comes a certain way, and you say, could I have a slice of tomato? And after spending $15 or $18 on a hamburger, plus your drinks and your tip and everything else, you're going to be spending $50 on dinner. And they go, that's another 50 cents for the tomato. Even if it's 50 cents, how are you going to feel? You're not going to feel very happy about that. So try not to upsell patients. Try not to nickel and dime patients. They hate it. I look for every opportunity to do just the opposite, to give them something that they didn't expect. So practicing with integrity is also to give patients the unexpected, what they don't expect. And what happens is the right people are going to be referred to you. And it's going to take longer to build your practice. The joke is, I was an overnight success in 40 years. I have a very busy, successful practice, but I did not have a busy, successful practice my first year, my second year, my third year, my fourth year. It took me 3 years to break even because we practiced very slowly. And I may have told you this story. It's called the Hans story. I had a patient named Hans, and Hans came in to see me. This was my first year in practice. It was 1985. And I did some scaling and root planing, and I reevaluated him. And after I reevaluated him, I told him he needed some periodontal surgery, which was the treatment that we were doing at that time. If he had pockets, we did pocket elimination surgery, and we still do a lot of times today. And he said to me, he goes, if you say that I need this, I will do it. However, my insurance is done for the year. Can I wait till next year? And in that moment, I knew that this patient was not going to lose their teeth if they waited 6 months. But it was my first year in practice, and I was $400,000 in debt, and I wasn't making any money in my practice. I was working in a mall to support my practice as it was being built. And at that moment, I looked at Hans, and I said to myself, I need the money, but he can wait till next year. And it was my first time that I ever said to myself, this is my integrity question. Am I going to practice with integrity, or am I not? It was like that fork in the road. As Yogi Berra says, if there's a fork in the road, take it. Well, I had a fork in the road, and integrity was on this side, and money was on this side. And I said to Hans, no, we can wait till next year. 3 months later, Hans, who was only 46 years of age, died of a massive heart attack. If I had treated him, he could have had a heart attack in my chair. He still would have had the heart attack regardless, but I would have felt very badly about it. Here, I just put this patient through surgery, and he died of a heart attack, and I lied to him. And then I ended up treating his wife, and she came in. I never shared that story with her, but every time I saw his wife, I thought about Hans. And I still think about that, and that happened over 40 years ago this year. I think practicing with integrity is more than just doing the right thing. It gives you a better life. And it helps to surround you with the best people. The right people will end up coming to your practice. It's a business decision. It's also a spiritual decision. By doing the right thing, and it's talked about by all the people. Simon Sinek talks about it, John Maxwell talks about it, Deepak Chopra talks about it. All the leaders in their field talk about the importance of practicing with integrity. There's actually a book called The Speed of Trust, written by Stephen Covey Jr. He talks about trust as a business decision. If you practice that way, all the gifts will flow toward you. I had a mentor once, not many people know him anymore. His name was Dr. Gerald Kramer. And he gave us this very weird metaphor. It was 1984. I was 1 year out of my residency program, and Gerald Kramer was the periodontist. He trained over 400 periodontists. He was the most elegant lecturer I had seen at that time. He was a brilliant surgeon. And I took his courses at Boston University. And when I went up to Boston University, he started showing this beautiful work. And in my first year in practice, I'm thinking, like, I don't even have the patience for this work. No one's going to pay me for this kind of work. I'd love to practice like this. I remember what he said to us one day. He said, students, we're all doctors. He says, if you practice with integrity, you're going to have a very successful practice. And if you do the right thing for your patients, people are going to seek you out. Now, I know you don't believe me. He says, so here's what I recommend. He says, on your day off, if it's a Wednesday, go in on Wednesday and just see 1 or 2 patients, but do ideal treatment on those patients. Do what's right for those patients. He says, and all of a sudden, you'll be busy on that Wednesday, and then Thursday you practice that way. Before you know it, it'll take maybe a few years, but you'll have a practice that's built around doing the right thing for every patient, where you can practice ideal treatment. And then one day, you'll look out the window of your office, and you'll see your patients are lined up. They'll go down the block, around the block, waiting to get into your practice. And this was the weird metaphor, but I'll share it with you. He says there'll be wheelbarrows in front of them. They'll all have wheelbarrows, and they'll be filled with money. So people with money will be waiting to get into your practice. Well, I've been in practice 40 years. There's nobody waiting outside my practice with wheelbarrows full of money to get in. But we are booked 3 to 4 months in advance of people that will pay for the treatment that I do that's ideal. And money is usually not an issue because they come in trusting me. But it's not for the faint of heart. It's for people who are willing to make a commitment to do the right thing on a daily basis. And if you do that, you'll be way ahead of the crowd. And isn't that what you want to do, to stand out in a good way? Because some people stand out in the wrong way, but most people are in the crowd. They're normal. They're doing it. They go to work. They go home. They go to the country club. They play around the golf. They go to work. They go home. They take a 2-week vacation to go back to work. sort of a flat life, looking forward to that. For me, every day I go to work, it's not work, it's I'm having a lot of fun because I get to do the right thing on a daily basis, and I get so many gifts back. And that's the cool part of it. What you give out there, you receive. But you know, it's not equal, it's more. You give more, you get even more back. So that's my thoughts on integrity. We'll talk about some of the other core values on one of our next videos. Have a great day, everybody, and be the gift.